Have you ever wondered why someone lingers in your mind long after they've gone? Even though you've tried to forget them, buried them beneath layers upon layers of memories, they return with the faintest scent, the echo of an old song. As if they never left. It is not random. It is not weakness. And it is certainly not because they were extraordinary. It is the silent call from the deepest part of your being, a place you've never truly touched. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." In the moments you find yourself obsessively thinking of someone, your mind is not merely fixated on them, it is knocking on your own door. That person may not be the one at all. They may be a mirror, a reflection of something you've lost, forgotten, or never dared to face within yourself. You see, the mind doesn't hold on to people at random. It holds on to what's unresolved, what remains misunderstood, what still longs to be healed. And sometimes they are merely symbols of abandonment, of unfulfilled longing, of the parts of yourself you've exiled. So if you've ever asked, why can't I stop thinking about them? Perhaps the real question is, what within me am I unable to let go of? And here begins the path into the realm of projection, where the psyche casts its own image onto another. For perhaps the one you miss is not them at all, but the part of you that was awakened in their presence, the part that was never voiced. Let us now step into the next chapter, where memories and emotions are not just recollections, but a map leading us back to the deepest self, where they were never truly them, but the mirror reflecting you. You might think that recurring memories of someone are simply signs you haven't let go, but the truth runs deeper. Carl Jung once affirmed, nothing in the unconscious is accidental. When someone keeps resurfacing in your mind, especially in moments of weakness, loneliness, or in the quiet hours of the night, is not just memory. It is a symbol, a vivid archetype rising from your own soul sent by the unconscious as a message crying out to be heard. Imagine this, the mother you cannot forget. It may not be because she raised you, but because she embodies the inner mother, the part of your psyche that longs for tenderness and protection. Or the one who betrayed you and left an aching wound, not necessarily the first to inflict pain, but the one who awakened an older scar, the childhood wound of abandonment. And then there are those who made you feel saved, like a strange, radiant light. They are not your savior. They are symbols of the sacred within you waiting to be born. When you remember them, you are in truth yearning to touch a part of yourself, one that you've buried beneath the many roles of everyday life. Jung called this projection the act of casting inner content onto another. The mind does not perceive the person as they truly are. Instead, you assign to them a fragment of your soul, a part you've never dared to fully face. For example, you may feel irresistibly drawn to someone who radiates freedom and courage, not because of who they are, but because they represent a silenced part of you, the longing to live authentically, unbound, unafraid of judgment. When they enter your life, they awaken that part and then leave. But what remains is not them. It is the piece of your soul that still aches to be reclaimed. So your inability to stop thinking about someone is not weakness. It is a call from the unconscious, a missing piece on the path back to your wholeness. That person is a psychic symbol and image tied to your inner journey of becoming what Jung called individuation. This is why you cannot simply erase them by force or avoidance, because you cannot erase a part of yourself. What you must do is understand what they represent. Who in you has been awakened? Is it the inner child longing for love, the warrior who has remained voiceless for too long, or the inner guide yearning to rise again? This is the moment we are no longer alone in this journey. If you have ever felt that achy, that haunting, unshakable presence, share your story below. Not to vent, but to illuminate the symbols we've ignored for far too long. Each of us holds a different image, but beneath them all, we are searching for ourselves through the shadows we cannot forget. Leave a comment I was once haunted by, but now I understand it was a part of me needing to be heard. So we know you are not lost. And if you're wondering, then how do I decode that symbol? How do I understand what I've projected onto them? In the next chapter, we will dive deeper into the art of seeing through projection and how Jung viewed it as the soul's secret language. For there is nothing more beautiful than recognizing yourself through the eyes of the unconscious and walking out of that maze with awareness. I'll see you in the next part, where you'll no longer think of them as an obsession, but as a mirror guiding you home. There is a paradox few dare to admit: the people who hurt us the most are often the ones who appear most frequently in our thoughts. Why is that? Does pain have a memory of its own, or is our mind simply stubborn? Carl Jung offered a deeper truth: we are not haunted by the person, but by the part of ourselves they awaken, the wounded self that has never been healed. Think of the one who hurt you: a breakup, a betrayal, a long punishing silence. You don't remember them because you love them. You remember them because they touched the deepest wound within you. And that wound, they didn't create it. It was already there. They were merely the needle that made it bleed. And here's what you must understand. The mind doesn't hold on to people, it holds on to unresolved emotions. Jung called this retrospective emotional recall. When someone becomes the center of your mental orbit, it is your unconscious whispering, "I'm still hurting. I still need to be heard. Come back and face me." We live in a society that teaches us how to move on, but not how to face what hurts. We learn to run faster, stay busier, fall into new love quickly, as if forgetting is winning. But in Jungian symbolic psychology, avoidance is simply postponed pain. And that postponement becomes a cycle. You'll meet another version of that person, different face, different name, but same energy, to remind you the lesson is not yet learned. Imagine you once loved someone deeply, but they made you feel not enough. You left or they did. But then another person enters your life, and again you feel you must earn their love to be worthy. Repeat, it feels like a curse. Jung would say this is not fate, it's a projection loop. You are unconsciously attracting those who trigger your core wound because your soul longs for healing. The key is not in the other person, it's within you. What part of me believes I am unworthy? I invite you to pause for a moment. Write in the comments, the wound I now recognize is, because sometimes simply naming it is an act of healing. And you are not alone. Read other comments, respond, connect. Because honest sharing is the root of community, a space where awakening souls find their way back to themselves. There is a part of you often forgotten called the inner child. This is the sensitive, instinctive, vulnerable part, but also the truest essence of who you are. When someone wounds you, they often touch this child. And because this child has gone so long without being embraced, it cries out through obsessive thoughts, recurring memories, old dreams. You are not haunted by them, you are haunted by yourself. This is where the healing begins. Not by erasing the past, but by turning inward and listening to that child. What made you hurt? What did you need that was never given? What are you trying to tell me through this longing? In the next part, we will explore anima and animus, the most powerful archetypes in Jung's collective unconscious. Those who stir your soul may not be true love at all, but reflections of the ideal inner form within you. And once you understand that, you'll no longer feel the need to forget anyone, because you'll see they were simply mirrors for your journey back to wholeness. Follow and share this with someone who's also unable to stop thinking about someone, so they know they don't need to forget. They only need to understand. Have you ever wondered why some people pass through your life for only a brief moment, yet leave a mark so deep it feels like destiny? You can't explain it. The relationship may have been fleeting, incomplete, even painful, but it lingers. Carl Jung offered an answer to this mystery rooted in the deepest layer of your psyche. Archetypes, the unconscious patterns of the soul. And here is the staggering truth: you didn't fall in love with them. You fell in love with the image within you that had long been waiting to awaken. Jung believed that each of us carries ancient templates, primordial codes embedded in the collective unconscious. Among the most powerful of these are anima, the inner feminine in men, and animus, the inner masculine in women. These are not about gender, but about the soul's energies, the opposing forces within us that long to be integrated. When you feel drawn to someone intensely, it may not be because they are the right one, but because they mirror your inner anima or animus. You see in them something deeply familiar, almost sacred, a beauty you cannot name, an energy that feels as though you've known them forever. Think about someone who moved you deeply, perhaps someone you never fully loved yet still think about. They may have embodied mystery, freedom, empathy, or strength, direction, wisdom. But those qualities, they weren't theirs. They were yours. You simply hadn't yet integrated them, so you projected them outward. In his therapeutic work, Jung observed how we often idealize someone to the point they become a soul image. And when that relationship ends, it feels like more than losing a person, it feels like losing a part of your soul. But that part was never theirs to begin with. It was always yours. You just hadn't fully claimed it. Write in the comments, who have I idealized, and what did they represent within me? When you write this, you're not just sharing with others, you're starting a dialogue with your own unconscious. And if you read a comment that resonates with you, like it, reply. Because the journey of archetypes is never a solitary one. It's a conversation between souls finding their way home. Here's what's extraordinary about anima and animus. When they are not integrated, you seek them outside yourself. But once you embody them within you, no longer depend on others to feel whole. Example. A woman who constantly feels drawn to strong, decisive, purposeful men may be encountering her unintegrated animus. If she hasn't developed her own inner strength and clarity, she will search for it in relationships. But when she begins to cultivate that part within, she will no longer feel lost when someone leaves, because she has found what was missing inside herself. We've spoken of projection of symbols and of the soul image, but there's a deeper layer still where the shadow dwells. And in the next part, we will explore it, because sometimes it's not the light that keeps someone in your memory, it's the darkness they awaken. If you've ever felt, I hate them, but I still think about them, then this next video is one you shouldn't miss. Subscribe so you don't miss part 2, where you'll discover what part of yourself have you been avoiding that this person unknowingly reflected back to you. Because only when you face that shadow can you begin to free yourself from emotional dependency. As Jung said, no light can emerge unless it passes through the darkness. There's something strange you've likely felt before. The people who hurt you the most are often the hardest to forget, even when your mind has told you time and time again to let go. They may have vanished from your life, but their presence lingers like a soundtrack that refuses to fade. Why do we stay attached? Jung offers a blunt and profound truth. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. And sometimes, it's not love that binds you, it's the part of yourself you've refused to see. It's not the affection, it's the shadow. We've spoken of symbols, projection, and idealized images, but now we enter the harder territory, the shadow. This is the rejected side of your soul. All the parts you've denied: anger, weakness, jealousy, fear of abandonment, desire to control. You didn't want to see them, so you cast them onto someone else. And ironically, the person you can't stop thinking about is often the one who unconsciously reflected that shadow back to you. You say you hate them for lying, for being selfish, cold, distant. But if you listen closely, what hurts most is not them. It's the part of you that tolerated it for too long. Because deep down, a part of you also believed you didn't deserve better. The shadow isn't just darkness. It's everything you've exiled. And until you acknowledge it, you'll keep repeating relationships that wake you up through pain. Jung once said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the moment to connect with our community. Write in the comments, the shadow I've recognized in myself is, whether it's the fear of being forgotten, the anger of being controlled, or the longing to be loved without having to be perfect. When you name the shadow, it no longer rules you. Read other stories because the shadow takes many shapes, but we all carry it. And when we face it together, it becomes a bridge, not a chasm. For example, a man constantly rejected by strong, assertive women may carry a hidden shadow, a deep fear of weakness or lack of control. He hates their pride, but in truth, he envies it because he's never dared to embody his own strength. Or a woman repeatedly drawn to emotionally distant men may be carrying the shadow of emotional dependency. She doesn't hate them. She hates herself for needing them. But what she's truly missing is the inner child, the little girl afraid of being abandoned, still aching to be held. You see, the other person isn't the root. They're just the mirror, a cold one reflecting the part of you you've refused to face. And the more you resent them, the deeper the trap becomes. Because the shadow you don't integrate will continue to pick people to appear through. But now that you've entered the darkness and begun to name what you once avoided, the question becomes, how do you not just see the shadow, but integrate it? How do you move beyond obsession with someone and realize they were simply a mirror guiding you back to yourself? In the next part, we will step into a decisive phase of the spiritual journey that Jung called individuation, where you stop living through reflections of others and begin living from the center of your own being. If you're ready to stop living reactively, and start consciously shaping your inner life. Follow this journey, because next you'll learn how to reclaim the parts of your soul you unknowingly gave away and reunite with yourself. You don't need to forget someone to find peace. You only need to return to yourself. There is a pain many people carry, but few have the courage to name it: the pain of giving away a part of your soul to someone and never taking it back. You can't forget them, not because they were extraordinary, but because a part of you is still where they left. When a relationship ends, people often tell you to let go, as if love were something you could pack up and throw into the past. But Jung would ask a different question. Have you reclaimed the part of yourself you projected onto them? If not, then know you haven't truly let go. You see, in every deep connection, especially those that are intense, conflicted, or unfinished, we unconsciously hand over pieces of our ideal self, parts of our being we haven't yet recognized or weren't ready to own. So when they leave, it's not just the person we lose that part of ourselves too. And from that moment on, we no longer feel whole, not because they took something precious with them, but because we never learned how to hold that part for ourselves. Think back. Maybe you once loved someone who made you feel alive, creative, inspired, and when they left, life felt dull. But the truth is, they didn't give you that vitality. They simply activated your creativity, a part of you that you had forgotten how to reach. Or maybe you were with someone who made you feel strong, grounded, protected, and now that they're gone, you feel lost. But they weren't your source of strength. They were the mirror reflecting a strength you've never dared to claim. Jung called the process of reclaiming these parts individuation. It's more than healing, it's a reunion. You stop living in fragments. You begin returning to your original wholeness, not as a half waiting for completion, but as a self-sufficient soul full from within. Now it's your turn to add your voice share in the comments. The part of myself I gave away was, maybe it was confidence, tenderness, creativity, or the longing to be loved unconditionally. Name it, because writing it down is the first step to taking it back. And if you read a comment that makes you think, me too, don't hesitate to respond. We are not lonely people healing in silence. We are fragments of soul slowly returning home together. How do you walk the path of individuation? There's no shortcut, but there is a way. Listen to yourself more than to the echoes of others. Start with simple but powerful questions. Who did I feel like when I was with them? What part of me did they awaken? Can I learn to awaken that part without them? Your inability to stop thinking about them is not a curse, it's an invitation. An invitation back to your inner world, to the part you abandoned long ago, and that now longs to be reborn. In the next chapter, we'll enter the final stage of the Jungian journey. How do you truly let go without forgetting? How do you release obsession without erasing your past? We'll explore the final act, integration, where you don't remove someone from your mind, you transform them into a symbol, a guide for your evolution. As Jung said, you cannot become yourself by denying what you once were. Hit follow and share this video with someone trying to escape emotional obsession, because maybe what they need isn't to move on, but to understand longing is the compass that leads you home. There's a truth few are willing to face. Your obsession with someone is not destiny, it's a signal from your soul whispering, I am not yet integrated. Don't try to forget them. Ask instead, what part of myself have I not yet acknowledged that they reflected back to me? Carl Jung didn't see recurring thoughts or longing as weakness. On the contrary, he saw them as clues, keys to your spiritual evolution. Because whenever an image keeps returning to your mind, it's a sign of an unfinished symbol, a mandala, yet to be closed. So what's really happening when you can't stop thinking about someone? Jung would say you've reached the final phase of the journey, the phase of integration. You've walked through it all. You saw the ideal you projected onto them. You faced the shadow they activated. You realized what you loved in them was what you lacked in yourself. You began the work of reuniting those fragmented parts. And now you stand at the threshold of the last transformation, reconciliation. No more resentment. No more spiraling questions of why they did what they did. No more waiting for them to understand, to apologize, or to come back so you can feel whole. Instead, you step into the role of the one who assigns new meaning to what has happened. Now you can share and connect on a deeper level. Leave a comment, I choose to reconcile with my past by, maybe it's forgiving yourself, or learning to love the part of you that once settled for less than you deserved, or no longer seeing them as the one who hurt you, but as the one who woke you up. Write it not to prove you're strong, but but to remind yourself you are awakening. In Jungian analysis, once a symbol is fully digested, it no longer haunts you. That means when you've learned what someone came to teach you, their image begins to fade. Not through forgetting, but through transformation. Like a wound that's healed, it no longer hurts, but the scar remains. And that scar makes you deeper, more honest, more human. You don't need to erase them from your mind. You only need to make their presence stop hurting you. That is true freedom, not forgetting but understanding so deeply that it no longer hurts. And what happens after integration? After reclaiming all the parts of yourself you once projected, after no longer searching for your reflection in someone else's eyes, the answer lies in a profound state Jung called the self, the whole unified being, who has welcomed back every lost piece. The final part of this video will take you there, to the place where you no longer live to prove, but live to become. Hit subscribe if you're ready to walk all the way through and finally truly be free from the obsession called them. Because as Jung once wrote, you meet your destiny on the road you take to avoid it. And perhaps the one you couldn't stop thinking about was simply the door back to yourself. Maybe even at this final moment of the video, you're still asking yourself, am I truly ready to let go? And I want to say this to you, it's okay if you're not ready. Because the journey inward was never a race. It's a return to your whole self, to the part of you that never needed anyone else to complete it. Jung once said, no one looks inside themselves and remains unchanged. And if this video stirred something in you, if it made you see a part of yourself you've avoided for a long time, then you've already stepped into that transformation. You are no longer the person haunted by someone's shadow. You are becoming the one who can finally listen to what that shadow has been trying to say. And from there, you begin to translate the language of the unconscious into inner freedom. Maybe you once loved someone so deeply you lost yourself. But here's the beautiful thing. If a love could make you lose your way, it can also lead you back home. So long as you choose to move forward, not to hold on to them, but to reclaim yourself. The moment you stop looking for answers in them, in their eyes, their silence, their unsent messages, is the moment you begin to hear your own voice. And do you know the most beautiful part? That voice never disappeared. It was just buried beneath longing and the hunger to be loved. This is where I invite you to help build this community. Share in the comments I choose to move forward by. Maybe it's forgiveness, maybe it's journaling, meditation, or simply daring to love yourself again. Write it down, because writing is the first act of turning transformation into reality. And if you read someone else's comment and it moves you, hit that heart. Let them know I see you. I understand you. I'm on this path too. If this video stirred something deep within you, subscribe to the channel. Not for the algorithm, but because this journey was never meant to be walked alone. Each week, I'll walk with you as we explore the deeper layers of the soul, from the shadow to symbols to dreams, and ultimately to the path of self-realization. And if someone you know is wrestling with a similar obsession, share this video with them. Maybe this is the piece they've been missing on their healing journey. Carl Jung once wrote, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. We don't escape the dark by running from it, but by turning toward it with honesty and love for ourselves." So if you're standing at the end of a love, a longing, a wound not yet closed, remember this: you are not lost. You are on your way back. And if anyone ever told you that you were weak for not being able to forget, smile. Because you are strong in a way the modern world has forgotten you dare to feel, to see, to face what is real. I'll see you in the next video, where we'll journey with Jung into even deeper symbols of the soul. But until then, go slowly, go deeply, and always remember, the one you've been searching for might just be the one reading these words.